If you think the Galaxy S26 Ultra is basically the same phone as the S25 Ultra, you're not entirely wrong, but you're definitely not seeing the full picture. Once you really break it down, there are around 28 changes here, and some of them matter far more than they seem at first glance, so let's get into it, starting with the design. This is where the most obvious differences show up. The S26 Ultra is now just 7.9mm thick without counting the camera module, which immediately tells you Samsung is still aggressively chasing thinness. Turn the phone over and you'll notice the individual camera rings are gone, replaced by a full camera bar that completely changes the look and brings it closer to the rest of Samsung's lineup. The trade-off, though, is that once you include that camera bar, the phone is actually thicker than the S25 Ultra and no longer sits flat on a table. The body is also slightly taller and wider, but the bigger shift is in the shape, with rounded corners and a fully rounded frame. Even the S Pen has been moved to the left and reshaped to match the new design, and thanks to all these changes, the weight drops to 214 grams, making it lighter than before, something Samsung has been quietly improving year after year. The display is where Samsung has done some serious engineering work. The S26 Ultra finally upgrades to a newer M14 OLED panel, replacing the M13 used on the S25 Ultra, although peak brightness may still top out around 2600 nits, which sounds underwhelming on paper. The interesting part is that this could be the first Ultra phone to use a COE or depolarizer-style display, where Samsung removes the traditional polarizer layer and restructures the panel. This allows more light to pass through, improving efficiency and reducing the thickness of the display stack, meaning the screen could actually look brighter outdoors while using less power. There's also an AI-powered privacy display built in, allowing the phone to limit viewing angles on demand without needing a physical privacy screen, and if Samsung gets this right, it could be a huge win. There are rumors of 10-bit color and high-frequency PWM dimming, but even reliable leakers aren't fully confident about those yet, which is frustrating because it suggests Samsung might not be pushing the M14 panel to its full potential. On the glass side, Samsung may move to a third-generation Gorilla Armor with improved anti-reflective properties, but there is one visual downgrade you can't ignore, and that's the larger front camera cutout, which is definitely noticeable. At first glance, the camera setup looks identical to the S25 Ultra, but there are some meaningful changes hiding beneath the surface. The main camera aperture widens from f/1.7 to f/1.4, which is a big deal because it allows more light in, enables faster shutter speeds, improves background blur, and delivers cleaner night shots. The 5x periscope camera also gets a quiet but important upgrade, opening from f/3.4 to f/2.9, which significantly helps low-light zoom. The 3x telephoto, however, is where things get complicated, as Samsung switches from a 10-megapixel sensor to a new 12-megapixel sensor that still outputs 10-megapixel images and is actually smaller in size, meaning the most used zoom camera could struggle even more in low-light situations. The selfie camera stays at 12 megapixels, but the larger punch hole allows for a wider field of view, jumping from 80 to 85 degrees, which is great for group selfies and vlogging, and Samsung is also upgrading autofocus with a new sensor to improve reliability in challenging lighting. On the software side, Samsung plans to switch the default photo resolution from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels, which could be the sweet spot for sharper images without the massive storage hit of higher resolution modes. There's also talk of a focus speed slider aimed at creators and the addition of APV video, a near-lossless log format with built-in LUTs that lets you edit professional-looking footage directly on the phone. Performance-wise, the S26 Ultra is expected to run the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, bringing big gains in CPU, GPU, and AI, although real-world performance will depend heavily on cooling. To handle that, Samsung is reportedly adding a larger vapor chamber, possibly around 15% bigger, to improve sustained performance and reduce throttling. While RAM and storage capacities stay the same, the RAM itself is about 25% faster, which should translate into smoother multitasking and quicker app switching. Battery and charging finally see some long-overdue upgrades. Wired charging jumps from 45 watts to 60 watts, marking the first real ultra charging upgrade in years, and it reportedly doesn't even require a special 5-amp cable. Wireless charging also gets a boost, moving from 15 watts to 25 watts, along with built-in magnets for perfect alignment without needing a special case. The downside is that reverse wireless charging doesn't work well with those magnets, and that feature may be removed altogether. Battery capacity itself stays the same, so any battery life improvements this year will come from efficiency rather than a bigger cell. And this year isn't just about slab phones either, because Samsung's foldables are about to change in a big way, and you can watch the full breakdown right here. This is Tech Tick, and I'll see you in the next one.